Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be looking at Lunatic Binge. It's probably the first prestige-bound book that I've looked at, mostly because I haven't really thought that I've wanted to kind of pull the book apart and as much as I need to really review it. I've got a whole bunch of prestige-bound books. I think that after Dark Knight came out and after a few of the other ones, I think I just went on this binge where I just always wanted that higher quality, kind of book, and they weren't really super expensive. I mean, this is only $3.95, and so I mean they were more expensive than your regular comic book, obviously, but you got this square bound and awesome. It had better type paper, and usually they had a bigger, different kind of storyline. But I think that as the time went on, people kind of realized that everything wasn't worth being in a big square bound book, and that it really had to be kind of something special. I'll be going through more of them, but like I said, it's reviewing's kind of rough on them, and if it's something that I'm trying to sell, then I'm really not gonna go into it unless I have like a beat up copy. Like I have beat up copies of Blood and Meltdown with who's that? Is that Walt? It's not Walt Simonson. He doesn't do the art for that. No. Anyway, it's Havoc and Wolverine. But anyway, I wanted to. It's Halloween month, obviously, so it's all scary stuff. So I went and I picked this out, and I don't remember reading it back in the day, but I mean I'm sure I did, because this is definitely something that's up my alley. Even though, as you know, I'm not really into the horror stuff, but if it's something unusual and different and of a really good quality, then I'm always into it. But before we get into Lunatic Binge number 2, actually, I want you to check out this Mutandis number 6. I showed it off briefly when I was talking to the Turbo Pit Fighter guys on their channel. I'll put a link in the description, about the state of comics and indie comics and all that stuff. I kind of gave it as a brief world premiere where you could see the cover. I've shown this cover actually before, and I didn't really like it, and I made another one, but I didn't like that one either so much, and then I just kind of came back to this. My biggest problem was that it didn't have a background, but I'm over that. I'm kind of into this cover now. I really kind of like its circular layout and design and stuff, and I'm kind of liking it, and I like the painting aspect of it. And we'll go through it a little bit, since I'm not really pushing the random access, which everybody knows. So the first 10 pages were actually in random access, and this is a working copy, so it's not completely done. In the front page will be a letter by, hopefully, if he gets it done, when he gets it done, by Dave Worcester, who is the original writer of Mutandis, and also he wrote this. I kind of gave him the direction I wanted the story to be in, and he went off and did the writing. I only changed a few things that I kind of had to, because I wanted the story to go in a certain direction. But here's all this stuff, and I also have to add Thomas Ahern. Did I say your name right, Thomas? Who did the inking for a couple pages, which I will show you here. 13 and 14 were inked by Thomas, and they are really fantastic. And really, I wish the whole book was inked by him, but you do what you can. So like I said, the first 10 pages were printed in random access, the first random access, and it was the first series, the first volume of random access, and it was number 9, I believe. And then I continued there, and haven't printed this anywhere else. So if you got random access number 9, you already know the story, where Vanessa in Mutandis Regeneratus, which, as you may know, or may notice rather, this is number 6. So I've gone back to the original numbering and taken away the Mutandis Regeneratus number and number 1, and I'm renumbering that number 5. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but consider Mutandis Regeneratus, number 1, actually number 5, and this is number 6. So it continues from that story where Vanessa Vaughn's sister was killed by an alien, and he has the crystal. He has the crystal that originally gave them their mutandis powers, and he, along with his cohort, want all of the mutandis powers back. So he goes into the kitchen of Vanessa, and he kills her and takes her powers and all of this stuff. And there's some other things that happens. The God Sword is actually comes back, and you see one of the other members of Mutandis, who was a billionaire playboy, but he became an astronaut after all of the events in Mutandis. And the alien comes and tries to steal his power, and that's as far as I'm going to go talking about the storyline so far in Mutandis. If you want to see the rest, you'll have to actually just get the book at alexanderturbin.com, or I'm going to be reviewing and going through all of the Mutandises, actually starting with number 1, probably after the Halloween season, the October season, probably the first week of November. I'll go through all of the Mutandises. Maybe I'll just start one episode. Each episode I'll just kind of go through. I know that a lot of you have seen me on the Power Comics show and on the Turbo Pit Fighter show, and I've talked a butt ton about Mutandis and my experiences with them and all of my everything. But there's always more to talk about Mutandis, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there's certainly a lot of ugly that I can show to you, I believe. But anyway, Mutandis number 6 only for $2.50, and it's completely in newsprint. This is printed in newsprint. I'm printing all of my special comics, the collected volumes of Cyrene or Queller or Death Knights or whatever. That's going to be in newsprint. Random access, I believe this next issue is going to be in newsprint because I have some extra stuff that I kind of need to use up. But then it'll be going back to that flat white paper that is just a little bit cheaper and a little bit easier for me to use. But like I said, if you get a Mutandis, if you get a Forlorn, if you get anything that's not random access, it's definitely going to be in newsprint. So check that out at alexanderturbin.com, or you can message me at alexturbin0441 at Instagram, or alexturbin0441 at yahoo.com, and we can figure something out. So Lunatic Binge. It's a horror anthology by one person, Madman. Madman is his name. What kind of name is Madman? I don't really know what his real name is. Written and illustrated by Madman. So Lunatic Binge. All of these stories, there's 3 stories in here, and they're all illustrated by this dude called Madman. Don't know who he is. I love his art. I wish I could find more stuff by him, but I don't know. I Googled him, and I saw that he had some other aliases, but I don't know if that's actually him. I'm going to Google him some more, but if anybody knows anything about Lunatic Binge, Triad Publication, or this Madman guy and friends, because it's all of these: Brian Carroll, Evan Dorkin, Gary Field, Stuart Mayer, Cliff Mott. I'm guessing that they're the ones that maybe they did the lettering and inking and stuff. I thought that he did the illustrations and the rest of these people did the painting, but now that I think about it, they may have done the lettering and the inking and some of the other stuff. Another interesting thing about this book is it has questions and answers on the bottom, but I don't think they always match up with each other. I think some of them are from different pages, so you have to look at the different pages to actually find the question and answer. I thought at first when I was scrolling through it, before I actually read it again, that was going to be a really intriguing thing to do with a comic, like having a trivia thing on the books, and it kind of is. But I was also a little bit distracted by it. I was distracted because I kind of wanted to just look at that and look at that and then look at that and look at that. I didn't want to just go through the story and go through the story, go through the story. I always had to go through the story and then look at the question and look at the answer, because you're your mind is just like, I gotta know what the question is and what the answer is. And there's a lot of them because there's a lot of pages on this book. So it's really an interesting. This is an interesting little book. It's came out in 1988, and the cover is by Jack Davis. Which, if you don't know Jack Davis, he used to work for Mad Magazine, and he did all kinds of really great illustrations. He's a fantastic artist. I actually bought a board game just because the cover. I don't know if the interior art or anything like that is by Jack Davis, but I know the cover is, and he's really a fantastic, really cartoony, but still really a great artist. Not that cartoony is ever bad. It's just if you are feeling that at the time. So let's get into the story, and then I'll talk about Madman's art and all of these guys' art. I don't know. I wish I knew exactly who did what and all of that stuff. There's 3 stories in here. I'm going to go through one, maybe 2 if there's enough time. Actually, I'll probably just go through the 1 and then go through 2 and 3 maybe Wednesday, because I'm going to that 3 video format a week, hopefully. And we'll see, and also see if my throat continues to act up, or if I can make it through it. So it starts off, there's a hitchhiker, and he's going through Georgia, and he keeps talking about peaches and sexy peaches and stuff. So this is very much a callback to EC Comics and all that kind of stuff, Vault of Horror and all that stuff. It's they always have, it's super twisty at the end, or kind of, it's less, I mean, it is horror because there's gore and stuff like that, and there's scary bits, but it's just an interesting story with usually kind of a twist. And the title is I Married Twins. So he's hitchhiking through Georgia, and he's just kind of meandering along. He doesn't really have any kind of destination when these 2 stop and offer him a ride. Now, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to tell you right now, I kind of have a thing for Siamese twins. Call me weird, call me crazy. Maybe it's just a dude thing. Maybe all guys have things for Siamese twins. But if you follow my Instagram or anything like that, you've seen that a couple times I've drawn women who are Siamese twins. I actually have a police character who is Siamese twins women. But I believe mine are always just 2 heads and 1 body. I like the 2 bodies actually better, 2 bodies and 2 heads, than the 1 body that I kind of usually do. I actually had a 3-headed bad guy in my my dungeon crawler game that maybe some of you have seen on Instagram that I've shown to a few people. So they offer him a ride, and they give him a ride, and it really, the next 2 pages is all kind of a montage about how they get together, and at that night they get some alcohol, and they dance and they sing and they have a great time, and he has sex with them, and finally, and they fall in love, and finally they get married. Their father is rich, obviously. I mean, I guess that was kind of implied, but it's pretty obvious. He's rich. So the guy is really turned on by the Siamese twins. He's turned on by the fact that they have money. Everything is really great, and he gets them to I don't know, move it was a honeymoon that they go off and have a great time. And then here's an interesting thing. I'm going to come back to this little choice of how they did this. But this is the honeymoon part. And then there's a twice a woman, man, what a honeymoon. Roy, you can tell automatically that that's not part of this honeymoon thing. This is part of something else that's a little bit more sinister, which is really intriguing. And I really kind of like that. But here's more of the montage of them just being happy and stuff. And eventually, though, one of the twins sees another dude, and she's turned on. So at night she's sleeping, and Larry, I guess, I don't know how she knows his name, but she's fantasizing about this Larry guy, and this guy Rick gets super jealous, and he kills her, smothers her with a pillow, which I kind of wish that he had done that in a couple more panels, maybe shown a little bit of remorse afterwards, maybe shown some hesitation during it or something like that. Maybe like a pacing back and forth, trying to figure out what he was going to do, something like that. But the twin, because it's Michelle and Rita, and I think this is Michelle. Yeah, let's see. Rita began to notice. Yeah, Rita is the dark-haired one, and Michelle is the blonde. So Rita wakes up. She doesn't believe that she's dead, that her sister is dead, and she just totally goes bonkers. She loses her mind. She won't accept that her sister's dead, and she just stays in bed, and the body starts to bloat and all of that stuff. But she's still sleeping, so she's just completely out of her mind and doesn't connect with reality. Rick, on the other hand, he gets some alcohol, goes into a drunken stupor, and he just is, now he's feeling the remorse and the guilt and stuff. But then he grabs an axe and he's like, maybe if I cut the twin off of Michelle, Rita off of Michelle, maybe then Michelle will snap out of it and they can salvage their relationship or whatever. But Michelle isn't having it at all. She says, you're trying to take Rita, my sister, away from me. And she grabs the axe that Rick was going to chop off Rita from Michelle, and she grabs it and she starts going after Rick. She gouges out his leg with the axe, and she goes. She's like gonna attack him. This is a classic pose, and I kind of wish. I don't know this. I mean, it could be his own creation, but obviously this is a classic horror pose, and I really kind of wish that I knew exactly where it was from. If anybody is really into horror and knows where the first pose of this could have come from, let me know. Psycho, is that the first kind of a pose, Psycho, where it's kind of a worm's eye view at the person that's going crazy and wielding the axe. But she's chasing Rick around the house with the axe. He's just limping around and he can barely walk, and she just like wants to kill him because he's trying to take Rita away from her. He goes away. He goes and runs as best he can, and she's following. Finally, she swings the axe and she takes a chunk out of his back or out of his spine or whatever, and he's like, no, please, no, Michelle, no more. And she falls down the stairs, and at the end of the stairs, the sister snaps off of her, and then that snaps her into reality. She realizes that the sister's dead, and that all of this horrible stuff has happened, and that she has to confront reality. This is we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but then they his legs are gone, his spine is severed, he can't walk, his legs are useless. So earlier on, he was talking about how heavy their clothes were, and they were saying that they're specially made because they're Siamese twins or conjoined twins. Is it Siamese or conjoined? I don't know what the appropriate nomenclature is. But I guess, I don't know. I don't think the doctors sew them onto there. I think just that they kind of decide that's how they're going to live. They're going to pretend that they're conjoined twins. And that's the end of the first story. And this is starts the second story, which is kind of similar art-wise, which is beautiful art. And then the third story is a black and white, a little bit more cartoony and stuff. But my thoughts on let's talk about the story. The writing is really, really, really great. It's a lot of writing. There's a lot of stuff to read and go through. I understand it. I wish there were bigger panels and we could see a little bit more of the art, but there's so much storyline. It's such a short story. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only 8 pages in the whole story, so it's really hard to condense that down if you're not using a lot of panels and you're using a lot of dialogue and story and stuff. The first page is only 3 panels. You're setting up the location. you're setting up the two of the main characters that aren't him. And you're kind of just going through this. Like I said, it's a montage. All of the characters are really well written. Their dialogue is extremely good. The girls are very innocently written, whereas Rick is a little bit more manly and masculine. It's very difficult to write women and men in a different kind of context, and but he does this. Madman does this really fantastically. I really love the dialogue and the story, and the story moves very fluidly. Like I said, if there are a few more pages, I think would have liked this story a little bit better, because I really kind of wish there was some stuff going on between these panels. And maybe this too. Maybe could have been a little bit more of, maybe she really did cheat somehow. I don't know how that would happen, but maybe she did cheat. Something to kind of just bring the story along a little bit. And like I said, I love this part. I'm going to talk about during the writing part. This is Roy. So it's obviously Michelle talking to Roy. So you've got all of this stuff that happens beforehand. It's kind of like this is being said while the montage is going on, or during the end sequences of the montage, and yet it's before the montage, which is very interesting. It really is great, because even though there's a lot of writing and a lot of reading and a lot of dialogue and stuff, I never had to go back and look at anything, reread anything, and that's one of the really big criteria of discussing the narrative art and whether it's good or not. So he's a fantastic narrative artist. He goes from panel to panel to panel. He goes, your eye is always knows, excuse me, exactly where to go, exactly what to read next, exactly what to look at next. And it's never, even though like some of this is very convoluted and hard to figure out when you're supposed to read what, it's just automatic, and you just do it automatically, because that's the artist and writer is made you do what you wanted to do, what he wanted you to do, rather. So it's this Madman. I really wish I knew what all of these other guys did. And special thanks to letterer Kurt Hathaway. So they didn't do the lettering, did they? It's inking. They could have done some of the inking. They could have. I have no idea. I really wish I knew. As for, so I really like the writing. It's really fantastic. As for the art, I love the colors. I love the line work. This is really a great artist. And Madman, if I could just find more stuff by Madman, and if anybody knows who this guy is and other works that they've worked on and stuff, please let me know, because I really enjoy this guy's work. He looks very heavy metal-ish. It looks like totally like something that would come out of heavy metal, like from Richard Corbin or Bernie Wrightson or something like that. It's very inspired or at the same time as what Bernie Wrightson was doing. It's very much in that vein. I love this sequence here where she's big and he's small, and it's this long stairway or long hallway, and the lighting. It's fantastic writing. It's fantastic coloring. It's really, I cannot say enough. I love the texture. Everything has a little bit of a different texture. I can't tell what it is. What the medium is. I think it's probably a mixed medium where he's using watercolors and maybe some pastels and some colored pencils and stuff like that. Maybe some airbrush work. And so I think it's a lot of different stuff. The only thing, here's my only problem with the story, is that after this happens, this is all explained. This explains where he lost his legs, and then they were conjoined, and all of that stuff. Actually, not conjoined, but they didn't waste the clothes, the specially made clothes that he had, or that they had. So I don't know. That's just kind of a little weird. I wish it was 3 or 4 more pages. I would have rather have had more of this and not this story at all, even though it's a pretty good story. I'm not going to complain about this story. But this right here, I don't know if it was a constraint of time or what. I would much rather, it's like they say in making films, show, don't tell. I feel like that has a lot of caveats. Like in Psycho or Jaws, you tell and don't show, and it works out much better. But this right here, I feel like you should have shown as well as told. So it's really, really a fantastic story, really a fantastic art. I love the art. My only real complaint, and it's not really a complaint, is that it's a very, oh, all right, I see the differences in colors. I think these guys are doing different color schemes. Like you have here, it's a little bit different color than these colorings and this coloring. It's a little bit different in some of the places, and this looks a lot different. Looks almost like a Bo Hampton kind of thing or something like that. So it is, you can tell a little bit about who did what as the assistant or whatever they are, the collaborative artists that are working under Madman or with Madman or whatever. So it's a great story. I love his expressions. I love his figures. Everything works really perfectly. He falls down the stairs, or he drags himself down the stairs, whereas she falls down the stairs. It's a different kind of technique, and it's a different way that he wants you to think about the art and everything and the story. But I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. Let me know if you guys have read Lunatic Binge, or if you know who this Madman guy is, or tried publications or anything like that. Just let me know. I'm really interested. I'm gonna go Google, but I'm a horrible Googler. I'm gonna go through the next story next on Wednesday, or the next two stories on Wednesday, and we'll continue from there. I'm gonna give that story a 9, maybe a 9.5. Because the art is really great. It reminds me a lot of stuff. Joseph Michael Lindster. It reminds me of Joseph Michael Lindster. Of course, this is before he did a lot of his stuff. Like I said, Richard Corbin. I see a lot of different influences. I see it's got a lot of stuff going for it. A lot of different influences that you can see the artist is really into, which is really fantastic. But I'm going to give this a 9. If I see more Lunatic Binges, I'm definitely gonna grab them. Oh yeah, one of my new things was gonna be I was looking up how much it is on eBay, and anywhere between $5 and $15. Really, it kind of goes up and down. Really, this isn't a fantastic copy because it has this thing here where the cover, it didn't separate or anything, but it's definitely worn. But the rest is pretty tight, and you could probably get a pretty good copy for, I'm gonna say, $8 or $9, and maybe a lower grade copy for $5. But this is number 2, and I don't know why they don't say it anywhere. But this is number 2. Number 1 is a little bit more expensive. I saw that for like between $20 and $30. And then I think there were like issues 4 or 5 or something like that, which are like between $5 and $10. So they're not super expensive, and I would really recommend getting this stuff. It's got a great covers. It's got great art, great story. It's great writing. Like I said, I gave this first story a 9, and I can't imagine not going that similar score in the other 2 stories. But there you go, Lunatic Binge. Getting a 9 from me. If you like this kind of content and you haven't watched any of my videos before, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell and all of that cool groovy stuff. And also check out Mutandis number 6 at alexanderturbin.com. And thanks for watching, and keep on creating.